Last time we saw the basic 8-track mixer setup wasn't quite as hands-on as a conventional hardware one. You had to use the jog wheel to fade individual inputs. Although there is a physical fader for the stereo output. But if you were stuck for a set and forget system with phase correction and EQ, then it's certainly simple to set up, and there's more we can do with it. So today we'll start looking at effects. I'll start with the one we skipped last time, called Insert Dynamics Effect. Now, in case you're wondering, as I don't want to waste your time, I'm only covering how to add effects in these videos. I'm not looking at individual effect settings. That's too big a topic for me, and there are far more knowledgeable people who can advise on this. The dynamics effect is one of the terminology confusions mentioned before. I would have called it an input or source insert effect. But either way, it corresponds to the dynamic screen, which can be toggled on and off with this button. Now, the screen is like the mixer, as it only shows information for the currently selected input, or the last one selected if your current item is a track. Let's go to the home screen. We've got input C. If we happen to have a track selected, say track 5, and go to Dynamics, it's still input C. So confirm your input is displayed at the top right, then press F3 to cycle through the 4 types of effects. When you found the one you want, just press F4 to insert it. This button toggles the insertion process, so you can press it again to remove it. Now, I said this video was aimed at novices, so just a quick diversion for those not familiar with the jargon. Why is it an insert effect? Well, the word really describes how an effect is used. In the hardware world, any type of effect can be inserted into a signal path. You just break the original path and insert it. And some mixers have special insert sockets for this. And one important point, albeit obvious, is that the whole of the original or dry signal is replaced by the effect's output, or the wet signal. This means that some types of effects lend themselves to being used in this way, as inserts. Now, take a noise suppressor. You're definitely not interested in the original dry signal, as it's too noisy by definition. So it makes sense to use it as an insert effect. But what about an echo effect, which outputs a delayed version of the input? If you insert one of these, its output will be out of time with other signals. Not so good. What we need to do is somehow combine the original dry signal, which will be in time. And this is what the send and return system and send effects are all about, and I'll cover this next time. For now, we're looking at these dynamic effects, which are all pre-wired as insert effects. Now, you can't tell from the front panel, but the diagram shows exactly where they are inserted in the signal path. So why is this useful? There are 2 reasons. One is it's before the assign switch, which means these effects can be used no matter where the signal is routed. So this will be useful later. And the other reason is it's before the EQ. Now, at first sight, this doesn't seem an issue, but the order of effect and EQ can make quite a difference. Say your microphone has picked up some loud bass or subsonic sounds, and foot-tapping guitarists, you know who you are. If you feed this into a compressor before removing the bass, it will compress at the wrong times. Okay, back to the plot. The effect for the selected input can only be one of these 4. In other words, you cannot chain them together like hardware. You can't have, say, a de-esser followed by a compressor, both on the same input. So don't get confused by this F3 or select button. If you insert the effect by turning it on, the F3 button just changes the effect which is inserted. Whatever effect is left showing on the screen is the inserted effect for that input, in this case input C. Now if you pick a different input via these source select buttons, or go to E, you can repeat the whole process and insert another input effect. Again, it can be either of the 4 types. Now the manual says you cannot use multiple types of dynamic effects simultaneously, and this seems to have started rumours that inputs can only have the same type of effect, such as all compressors or all DSs. And even the official Tascam video says this, but this is not correct. They're selling the machine short. Now it may have been due to earlier firmware or a mistranslation of the daisy chain limitation, but either way you can insert any of the 4 effects into any or all of the 8 inputs in any combination. There's a mouthful. Right, let's set up 3 compressors on A, B and C. Okay, source A, compressor on. Source B, compressor on. C, compressor on. We'll have 3 noise suppressors. D, select the noise suppressor on. E, another noise suppressor on. And F, another noise suppressor. And then just for a laugh we'll have a de-esser on G and an exciter on H. Okay, we go back to prove that's set up. Source A is the compressor, B is the compressor, C is the compressor, 3 noise suppressors, 1 de-esser and 1 exciter. And all these settings, if I turn the threshold down for A and B, put it halfway, and C, turn it up full, you can see that if you look at this box here, threshold, nothing, halfway, full. So they are 3 separate compressors, and the same goes for the others. Right, now that should have been the lot for this video, but there are a couple of catches, aren't there always? The first catch is if you turn on more than 2 of these dynamic insert effects, you may see an error message. I'll give you a demo. Say we go to A, turn on, B, turn on, C, turn on. The error says not available, turn off the guitar effect or use 2 or less dynamic effects. I'm going to cover guitar effects in a later video. It's just down here on the diagram. The insert guitar effect. Again, it's a confusing name, but it's really just a track insert effect. And the problem is that it also needs processing power. So if you've inserted it into a track, it competes with the input effects or dynamic effects. So the bottom line is, if the guitar effect is inserted, the number of concurrent input effects is reduced. Now it's quite a drop. It goes from 8 to 2, but you'll see later that the guitar effect is quite a complex beast. Now you won't see this error message if you reset the machine as shown earlier, but if you didn't, how do you find out which track has the effect inserted so you can remove it? Well, we'll just acknowledge this error message first with F1. All you have to do is press the Effect button, which shows the effect screen. Now if this F1 button happened to be marked guitar, because that's the last state it was in, just press it to show the guitar insert effects. And you'll now see the culprit at the top right of the screen. In this case it's track 7. And you'll also notice track 7's select light has come on. Another important point is it does not matter if the effect is turned off. It seems bizarre, but if a track number is displayed here, then it's still deemed to be inserted, even though it's not actually running. So it's still competing with processing power. And we're not using tracks in this simple mixer, so press the track select button so its light goes out, and you'll see the top right indicator on the effect screen also changes to dashes. And this shows that the track effect has not inserted. So you can now go back to Dynamics and insert up to the full range of 8 input effects. Now you can also use the mixer screen to see the insert effect status. Undo this. Insert the track effect on track 5, say. There it is. Here's the mixer screen, and the insert effect is lit up, which means that input A has a dynamics insert effect. Input B also has one. C and all the others do not. And we can confirm this. There's the compressor on A, noise suppressor on B, and all the others are switched off. Go to the mixer again and select a track. You can see that insert effect is off. Keep going through and we see 5 is lit up. None of the others are. So this means track 5 has got the guitar insert effect, which is there. So this insert effect box is shared by both the tracks and the inputs. So in the scenario before where we were trying to find out which track had the effect, we could have just stepped through all the selects one by one and see which one lights up. In this case it's track 5. And you can turn it off from here by just turning the jog wheel. Now just an aside, or maybe this is another catch. A has a compressor switched on, B has a noise suppressor. So we'll leave the dynamic screen with it showing input B's noise suppressor. If we go to the mixer, you can see the insert effect is lit for input B. It's lit for A. We know it's got the compressor, and the others haven't got it lit. All makes sense. But if you go to A and we turn it off with the jog wheel, and then we turn it back on with the jog wheel, go back to Dynamics, and you'll find that input A is now a noise suppressor, as is input B. So turning effects on using the mixer screen uses the last displayed effect on the dynamic screen. I would always switch them on and off from the dynamic screen. And now, if you're still with me, the final catch. If you did not reset the machine, but you've still got that error message, you might be saying, well, I didn't insert a guitar effect, or even I wouldn't even know how. So how did it get there? Well, this is a side effect, excuse the pun, of settings being retained whenever you create a new song. And this was all covered in the first 2 videos. Okay, that really is it for now. Next time I'll finish off this basic mixer with a look at send effects, and then we'll venture into the track section and start using all these nice looking faders to create a more user-friendly mixer. Just one last word in case you get the urge to skip ahead. The user interface for the guitar insert effects is completely different. You have been warned. So see you next time, and thanks for watching.